Hello, podcast listeners. This is your host with the most. Do you think there should be chain gangs? Well, we talk about it in today's episode of JJ Meets World. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is! He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle's sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Goddamn, dude. I looked at Facebook this morning. I wake up and I grab the phone right away, which I don't want to do.
Right.
It doesn't feel good.
But you don't know what happened in the 7 hours you were asleep.
Right. Well, and my brain's going, hey, you need novel stimulation or you want novel stimulation right now. You've just been laying here all night. And so I pick it up and I see, hey, Fargo North class of 2003. It is our 20th reunion coming up in just like a week. And so, hey, does anyone want to help us plan this? And then also it'll be on this day at this time. And that was 20 years ago that I graduated, which means it was 21 years ago that you graduated.
Uh-huh.
So you just went through this mix of emotions a year ago, roughly, right? So can you walk me through? I went to the 10-year. I'm going to go to the 20-year.
Okay.
I'm interested in this, and I've got a couple of friends from school that we're going to do it together, right? So we're already chatting about, oh my God, it's been 20 years. That's crazy. Who do you think's going to be there? Probably a much smaller turnout than the 10th, but walk me through it. What can I expect?
What can you expect?
Yeah.
So we had a tumultuous 20-year reunion because our class president sent out a message like mid-January of 2022 saying, I don't feel this.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do this.
Good for them.
I felt pressure 20 years ago to run for class president. I didn't really want to do it. So someone's got to take up the mantle and get things planned, which was the same way for the 10-year. And so I was part of the group on the 10-year. I did not attend my 10-year anniversary reunion because I had a really bad ear infection.
Oh.
And so I was in too much pain to go to it. But I still set up all the sound equipment for them. So if someone wanted to say something and do a speech or announce hey, everyone, we're doing this. And it was going to be $35 per person, but they were, full app, heavy apps, things like that. So the group who planned the 10-year got so much guff from people who were like, why don't we just go to the park and then it costs nothing? It's actually it doesn't. You still have to rent the park, you dildo.
Yeah, there's a lot goes into that.
So so my 20-year, so then all of a sudden it's okay, who's going to plan it? And nobody did. I did not have a 20-year class reunion.
Oh.
Nothing happened last year. So I have no insight.
Okay.
Other than the fact of there's a lot of good movies that deal with the 20-year reunion idea.
Sure.
From my guesses, you're going to encounter someone that will tell you that they had some sort of feeling towards you, whether romantic or anger, and they'll confront you about that.
Because that's a trope of the 20-year reunion film, right? So that, I think what I need to do then is watch some movies that
American Reunion.
Okay, because I couldn't tell you any that are. Is that the American Pie film?
That
franchise?
is the American Pie film. The It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has a great 20-year high school reunion episode.
Okay.
High Fidelity is a movie about a hitman going home for his high school reunion.
So if you had your 20-year,
which
which character would you have been? If you're showing up, I don't want to adopt main character syndrome where I'm just I'm the normal one, and then here are these character archetypes showing up that the popular cheerleader who's now a twice divorcee, or the uber nerd who was being picked on who's now $1 billion and super handsome, or whatever that you always assume there's either the extremes. It's either someone completely reversed their place in life, or they are exactly the same. They have changed nothing, And we all assume ourselves to be somewhere in between those two places.
Right. I think the trope is like the jock who never got past high school, right? Like
The Uncle
thinks he's-
Rico.
Right, exactly. Versus you could have like Alan Cummings' character in Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion who invents some kind of glue that they use in sneakers and then,
Yeah.
is ultra famous and successful.
Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion is one of the movies on my list that I always
To
buy
watch.
when I get it
Oh, yeah?
for
Really?
VHSs because I give them to Mike Schultz. It's one of his favorite movies, unironically. And he collects multiple copies on VHS. I just
Interesting.
found a TV tape of it and I asked him if it counted. And he said yes.
Oh,
so
that's
I got
good.
it for him. Yeah. But yeah. So I mean, I'm guessing it's just going to be probably at a bar or something. I'm assuming that's what it was at the 10th. It was at the aquarium,
So here's the thing I don't understand. What was your graduating class size?
300 something.
You can't fit-
Not large, like
you can't
very
fit
small.
300 people into the aquarium.
But that not many people are going to show up. I mean, for the 10th, I'd say maybe, and this I'm just guessing here,
Mhm.
maybe 75 people showed up. And that's including partners being forced to come with.
So, but the 10th I think is one of the lowest attended reunions.
Really? See, I
It
was
is.
assuming the opposite because then people's interest would fall off or whatever.
It's not because at 10 years you're like, well, really, what has changed that much in our lives, right? Like a couple of us got married, some of us have kids already, and
Right.
the other ones are like, I'm waiting, pump the brakes. But my understanding is from 20, 25, and 40 are some of the biggest reunion numbers that you're gonna see.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people have probably died at that point.
By 40?
By the 40th reunion? Yeah.
So you 58. You plan on being dead by 58?
Wait, well, you just took it in a new direction. I did not tell you I plan on being dead by 58. I'm saying there will be more dead. You're telling me there's going to be less dead. You're telling me that in your graduating class, there's going to be less dead people at the 40th than there were at the 10th because then they've come back to life?
No. I think that the fact of the matter is that out of a group of 500 people, right,
Uh-huh.
which is my graduating class,
Right.
you're probably talking about 3 deaths. Like I can think of 2 people, and one of them probably wasn't even in my grad class, who have died since we got out of high school.
Yeah, that's still more dead than there was previously.
Right, but I'm saying they're already dead. Like
Right.
those people are dead. And like, what are the odds of them die? What are
So
more
you're
people dying by the time they hit 58?
You're saying it's just going to, yeah, of course.
No,
That's literally
no.
how that works, JJ.
58 is a shocking death. That is a shockingly
I'm not
young
saying
death.
it isn't. I'm saying the arrow of time moves forward.
Yeah.
And that's the only way there is. So statistically, you're likely to have more deaths.
Okay, what based on what statistics? Because if those statistics are true, we should have the same amount of deaths at all reunions.
And that's not how statistics work. And I think it's
It is
statistics
because
for all people.
I guess if you're saying statistically one person from your class will die every single year, then between my 10th and 20th, we should have the same amount of people who die between the 10th and the 20th.
Right. But regardless about how many did die, there are now more dead. So even if only one dies in those 10 years, there are now more dead members of your class than there were before.
That logic is bad because
That's literally minus one.
No, but the previous reunion would clear the slate, like because we would. But I mean, think about it honestly though, because if you had anyone that you died in that class, they would mourn them at that like for example,
Yeah.
Dustin Buchanan. They
Right.
mourned Dustin Buchanan at his 10-year
Right.
reunion, right?
Right.
So you don't mourn them again as lost. It wipes the slate clean.
I'm not talking about mourning them. I'm not talking about like having a thing. It's
Okay, so that by your logic, then, as of today, we by tomorrow we statistically could have less hosts of JJ Meets World.
Literally, that's true.
Okay.
That is quite
Okay.
true. That can
Okay.
happen in 5 minutes if a Donnie Darko situation happens where a plane comes in and crushes me.
Uh-huh.
By the way, if a plane comes in and crushes me, I want you to move on. I want you to remarry.
Do you?
I do. I really.
I'm gonna assume your identity and go to your reunion as you.
If I die before you, I want you to get a new producer. I don't want
Do
you.
you?
I don't want you to just be without a producer for your podcast. So
If
I'm telling you that right now.
if I die, let's say in the next 10 minutes before this episode's done,
Sure.
I would like you to keep JJ Meets World going, but I want you to bring in a slew of guests who break down each episode of JJ Meets World
Okay.
and do kind of like what would be this, like a celebration episode for each episode. The way that the Office Ladies podcast is doing that for each episode of The Office. There's people who do it for Below Deck.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's perfect, right? So you'd have 300 plus episodes to make new episodes.
Hey Siri, start a timer for 10 minutes.
10 minutes starting now.
All right, let's
Okay,
see if
we'll
you
see
die
who's
in the
dead
next,
in the next
Yeah,
10 minutes.
10
Cheers.
minutes. Cheers.
Well, we should get this done. I brought in some letters that we've received to the podcast, and I thought that
Really?
I understand. I know that like the podcast goes to my home address, and so you
Yeah.
wouldn't get the 2 physical letters we got. But I
Sure.
assumed you've read the email ones. Have you?
No.
Oh, okay,
actually,
good.
I haven't. So this is new. I will respond in real time.
Okay. So this first one, Dear Tucker and JJ, I am currently incarcerated at Whitrock Correctional Facility in Wyoming. We recently were allowed to start listening to podcasts. I can't listen with headphones on. I have to listen in a group setting. So occasionally I have to tell people to be quiet so I can listen to the full episode. This has kept me sane. Thank you so much, because it feels like I'm having a conversation with my 2 best friends outside of the prison walls. I've been denied. I can't even read what this word is. It's not bail. Oh, no. I see what it is. I've been denied parole 3 times, but my 35-year sentence comes to an end in June. I plan on looking you up, and I would love to be a guest on your show. Question: what has changed? ? Signed, Todd Becker. Well, I'm flattered, right?
Luckily, the first step is already complete, which is he has your home address.
Right, bingo.
Right.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
Todd, bummer you've been denied parole 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the good news, at the end of your sentence, they gotta let you go,
Sure.
whether you're paroled, early or not. I guess I don't know what we're gonna have you on to talk about. Maybe forensic evidence and
Right.
how to make sure you don't leave that behind.
Right.
One
I've
of those.
watched a lot of First 48, so I've got some pointers.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I'd also like to hear about what the prison system's like. I hope that, Todd, you're not the only one listening to these, that you get some other prisoners so that even after you're gone, they can listen to your episode.
Mhm.
So, Todd, we look forward to seeing you.
I want to know how well we rate between the different gangs in prison.
Oh,
Which
sure.
gangs are ride or die for JJ Meets World, and which ones would shank the fuck out of us if they ever met us.
I think you'd be surprised
Yeah.
because I think a lot of prisoners really, they see me as the
You're the sweet meat. You're
right,
the
exactly, the doughboy.
Yeah.
I'm the prison bitch.
yeah,
if you
buffets
will.
on, fellas.
Right, exactly.
And I
So,
look too gamey. I think I look too we
like
could.
you're diseased.
Oh yeah, I mean
Like,
they
they don't want to get a disease.
they would easily overwhelm me without anything, but they
Right.
would be like, yeah, but it's not even cold pizza, right? It's old pizza.
Right.
It's just not good.
I can imagine a world where they make me wear things in my hair,
Right.
like paper clips.
right.
Right. Dear sirs, this is the 5th and final notice. Recently, on an episode of JJ Meets World number 314, you broke copyright law by including a section that is currently owned by Disney Corp. Please remove this episode immediately, or you will find yourself in court. Sincerely yours, Todd Mercer, Florida.
Man, we're on like a Todd mailing list, aren't we?
Yeah, a lot of Todds. There are a lot of Todds on
Man,
this list.
I've known many Todds in my life.
I-
I've worked for a Todd. I'm related to a Todd. I've met Todds at the bank.
Yeah.
That work at banks. Todds work at banks.
I know. I really only know one Todd,
Uh-huh.
and he's kind of a douchebag.
Doesn't the name
he goes by? He's like, hey, it's me. It's T-O-double-D.
Doesn't the name Todd sound like they were just throwing something out there because they were too busy to be bothered with it? Like,
Right,
What
what
do
are we
you think
gonna name
your
his baby?
I don't know. Pff, Todd.
Todd?
Whatever.
Todd. No, I do not want a new finance.
My favorite Beavis and Butthead character is Todd because whenever he
Yeah.
shows up and they have the same, whoa, it's Todd. And they think he is the coolest guy. And there's that, damn it, my new jeans. That's how he talks all the time.
Do you watch any of the new Beavis and Butthead episodes?
I need to. I've seen clips and they have destroyed me. Like
Mhm.
on the floor holding my side laughing. And this is a whole nother topic to get into. I really am grappling with the fact that I have trouble committing to sitting down and consuming certain types of media like TV shows and movies. Even though I love those things, I make those things, like that's what I want to do.
Because for the bulk of the rest of this episode, we're going to talk about a new television show that I am obsessed with,
Okay.
literally obsessed with.
Okay.
I
I'll
got to
have-
read the last note here.
It'll be like watching it. Okay, and can I ask, you're saying these are arriving at your home?
Yeah, those two were paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the condition of the prison letter?
It clearly had it was in an envelope that contained another envelope that had my address on it but no stamp. So clearly like a prison guard had to read this letter before it went
Sure.
out. So this person has lost the privilege of having that private.
Make sure they're not coding something about
Right.
You know,
I also think
make
it's
sure
interesting.
the meth gets to this part of the river.
Right. I think it's interesting that Mr. Becker also has lost his headphone privileges.
Right.
So I don't know what he did to, was he listening to something that was inappropriate?
Have you heard of prison TVs and prison radios? You can buy them on eBay.
No.
They're literally, old TVs or radios that would have been in a jail or prison at one point, and they whatever got decommissioned or whatever. And what they are is especially like a CRT TV. It's a clear plastic case so that you can see everything inside of the TV, so that they can't hide like paraphernalia inside of there and drug stuff or whatever. And it's like locked down too. It's got like one cable into it and kind of a thing. And it's kind of interesting. They pop up on the internet every once in a while.
When I was, I don't know, probably in middle school, we toured the Cass County Jail.
I think I did
Right.
that too.
So you walk through and you see how the intake is and everything. And I remember walking through an area and there were prisoners in their I wouldn't even call them cells, maybe just like holding areas.
Sure.
But one of the guards was telling us that they get HBO.
Oh,
And at that time, I mean, HBO was not common. We're
Right.
talking about like the mid 90s. Like that was a premium cable channel.
right.
And I was talking with a kid named Desmond. And I was like, they get HBO? I don't get HBO.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, this is also another thing too. So it's spring in our area and the ditches are absolutely filthy with garbage. Like there's so much littering that goes on. I'm so disgusted by the people in this area. And it's probably like a very small handful that have been, throwing stuff out of their cars all year, or maybe they had trucks with garbage spewing out. But why don't we use, prisoners to clean up garbage in ditches?
Why don't we use prison labor?
Yeah. I mean, think about it though. Like this isn't hard labor. This is cleaning up. This is making the world that they somehow through a court of law was decided that they had committed a crime. Why not pay that back to society?
Well, certainly it does get used for community service, right? So someone gets on community service. It's like, all right, to fulfill your hours, you're going to be doing
do you know
community
how much of a
service things.
scam that is?
I don't doubt it, but I mean, so is prison labor, it's slavery.
I mean, I don't think that it's slavery. I think that
They're not getting paid for it.
No, you do. Like if you work in a license plate manufacturing thing, like that's a no
Are they
thing.
getting paid minimum wage?
Oh, it's below minimum
Yeah.
wage. But they technically are also getting room and board. So, But no, because that's how people can put money into their prison account is essentially by working, and then that goes into their commissary account. It also, like at the end, they write you a check for whatever is left. So I think that there's something there. But I also think at the same time, like it's all right to have them come and clean up the roads. Same thing with, so back in the day when someone would get an underage, like drinking underage violation, the go-to thing that people wanted was they wanted to have to be forced to volunteer at the YMCA and fold towels. That's all you gotta do is fold towels, fold towels, fold towels. But there is a scam associated with the amount of community service you have to do. And I think last week tonight, I think John Oliver did a huge piece on it. But independent companies, because the court system doesn't want to deal with it themselves. They don't have enough personnel. And so the court system actually has allowed independent businesses to be formed. And so they get actually paid, so they'd get paid by the organizations who want this free labor. I would consider that more slave labor, because they're telling you that you're going to go to jail if you don't go in and do this. And it's a huge scam. Now, I believe in being punished when you break the law, right? That is something I do believe in. But I also believe
which laws?
but I also believe this. I also believe that the institution. Oh, is that 10 minutes?
We're both still alive, so I guess neither of us is getting divorced right now.
Oh, I was gonna say, you can take that phone call if you want it, but that's your alarm, huh?
No, that's the 10 minutes are up.
Would you? Would you like to hear what the alarm is that I choose on my phone?
Sure.
Because it's a very specific one. Hold on. Hold on, wait. You'll know in a second. That is by Theodore Shapiro, I think is his name. He wrote the score for the 2016 Ghostbusters movie that shouldn't be included in the Ghostbusters canon.
Got it. Okay.
He did his orchestration of Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters. I like it. It's good. That if you ever pick up the album, that's called The Ley Lines.
Okay.
So it's pretty good.
Okay.
It's good stuff. Our last, I got to get to our last letter. So this one was an electronic mail. And it says, "Dear Carrie, I've been a long-time listener to Midwest Murders, and I love your podcast. It's so much better than the other crap podcasts. My boyfriend listens to something called JJ Meets, and he thinks that is hilarious, but I don't. I think that if I was going to murder him, I would use your podcast as the guide. Sincerely, Celeste." So she must have accidentally put our email address, or used AI to write it.
No offense to the one Celeste that I know.
Yeah.
But she's named Celeste. She's fucking trouble.
Is she?
Get the fuck out. Except the one that I know.
Okay.
Who I knew her older sister, so I haven't spoken to her in years. But she was always a nice person. But I mean,
But have you listened to Midwest Murders? It's pretty good.
If you got divorced and then you're like, "Hey Tucker, I've got a new flame." I'm like, "Oh, what's her name?" And you said Celeste. I'd go, "Dude, call Jill up and see what she's doing."
Really?
Yeah.
You think that just by the name alone, I should be worried?
I would say that you're better off in the grand scheme of things getting away from Celeste.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that.
There's a couple names on that list for me, but I think Celeste is probably one of them.
I want to tell you about a new television show that I started watching. In fact, I started watching it 2 weeks ago, and it must be the series finale just aired on Friday. And I have been going around preaching to people how much I want them to watch this. And this sell on this show has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do for people to be like, fine. But I will tell you this, of the 5 people who've said, yes, I will watch this, all of them have the text threads are insane about how much they love it. They're marathoning through it. I pretty much kidnapped our friend Sean on Friday, and I said, hey, come on over to my house with pizza and we'll hang out.
Also, I'm going to take this picture real quick.
Yeah, sit down. We're going to watch through the entire series of Jury Duty.
Okay.
The premise of the show is very simple. It is at the beginning, you see a couple panels that explain that this documentary crew has been given complete access to a California court case, and they're allowed to do interviews with the jury during the process to show what it's like to be a juror.
Mm-hmm.
And every single person in the courtroom, on the jury that they interact with, is an actor, except for one guy who does not know that he is in a fake courtroom.
Oh my God.
With a fake jury.
Oh my God.
And
holy shit.
So
that's got to be illegal.
So here's the thing.
There's no way that's not legal.
There's so much that happens with this. So this guy responded to a Craigslist ad that said, hey, we're a documentary crew. We're working on this. We can't have you be, we can't have it needs to be a jury of their peers, but it can't be a jury that is summoned. for legal reasons, right? Because you're going to have to sign a waiver and it's going to be documented. So both the people in the case have waived their rights to be able to do this. And they explained it that it's similar to like what happens with Judge Judy.
Oh.
But there's a jury this time, not just like Judy.
Interesting.
And it's
Okay.
funny because when you go on to Judge Judy, it's essentially mediation.
Yep.
So her decision is final, whatever it is. But both of you, no one ends up in the lurch because the show actually pays whatever fine that Judy levies against you.
Got it.
So why wouldn't you? And over the years, they had to get really good at finding out, like, well, who's just trying to scam us?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So this guy has no idea that this is going to go on. And the very first episode involves him sitting in a waiting room with about 50 people. And these 50 people are all actors, and they are waiting to be taken into the courtroom for jury selection. So if you didn't know this, if you're summoned for jury duty, you don't necessarily have it. Like, there's an opportunity for you to speak against why you shouldn't be on the jury, and then they get to ask you some questions to decide whether or not you'd be a good juror for their, defense or their prosecution. So he's sitting in there, and this guy shows up with a black jacket and a black hat and sunglasses, and he sits down right next to him. And then a woman comes over and she goes, "Hi, could I take a quick picture with you? I'm such a huge fan." He goes, "Oh, okay." And you find out it's James Marsden.
Oh.
And then they ask this guy, the hero, so to speak, to take a photo. And so he takes a photo and he goes, "Oh, that's right." And then he kind of just like, I know you. You're from X-Men, right? And he goes, "I've done a lot of stuff since X-Men." Yeah, Enchanted, The Notebook, Westworld. He goes, "Sonic." And he goes, "Oh, you were in Sonic? I heard that movie sucked." So what ends up playing out over the course of this show is nothing short of watching like a professional ballet take place, where you think there's no way they can lift that person and make this dance and be in unison. It is frigging perfection. And the amount of stuff that they put this guy through, which is not harmful to him. Essentially, they're just seeing how you would react in these situations.
Mhm.
So there's a character who's kind of slimy and gross to him, but he never tells anyone like, "Man, that Tim is one like bad dude." He ends up being like the hero. He literally, like, I saw James Marsden do an interview and he goes, "We referred to this character when we were doing all of our rehearsals and kind of saying, okay, if this happens, we want to go in this direction. If this happens, we want to go in this direction," as the hero. And we continued that through the entire course of the show. I'm going to give away a piece of this show to tell you how perfect this is. It's so well thought out. So you would think, well, gosh, this guy can just go home every night, and sit on his phone, and then like that's
Right.
going to ruin the gag, right?
Right.
So they decide on who's going to be on the jury the first day. And then the second day, when they're doing opening arguments, James Marsden, who is himself, he is James Marsden, right?
Mhm.
Like, so he's like, paparazzi follow me everywhere. And he kind of is this douchebag, and you love him because he's a douchebag. He is trying to get out of jury duty because he wants to have a meeting with the director to be in this big film. And he decides, you know what? If I cause a scene, they'll probably get rid of me because they don't want a scene. So he calls his assistant, who calls TMZ, and they show up and they're trying to take all these photos. And the judge does this amazing thing where he goes, is there a possibility that something like this could happen again? Your Honor, the paparazzi follow me everywhere. I'd hate to be a distraction for everyone. He goes like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to sequester everybody. So everyone's got to turn in their phones, and we're going to book you at this hotel, and you will go back and forth to the hotel, and the bailiff will be with you the whole time. And I'm like, that is so genius.
Mhm.
So there are people, and it's over the course of 17 days. And so there are people who maintain their character at all times for 17 days. It might be one of the finest pieces of improvisation I have ever seen in my entire life. And even though they've got, it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? Curb Your Enthusiasm is planned out beat by beat.
Right.
But the improv is what gets you from point A to point B.
Right. They know, like, in this scene, we have to get there.
Right.
How do we get over there?
Right. At the end of the scene, Larry's dad is smoking pot.
Mhm.
Right. So the final episode is a behind the scenes. It shows you how they did everything.
Okay.
And I am amazed. Now, the people who made this show, of course, I'm like, oh, that's why this is so good. And there's all these interviews. So it's not just a hidden camera show, right? So
Right.
because they think they're a part of the documentary, they've got these one-on-one interviews with, both the improvisers as well as the hero.
Right.
His name is Ronald Gladden, Ron. And the stories that they build. There's one character who has made is Korean and made a board game. And so he gets him during one of their breaks to play this board game called Ute, where it's like a mixture of Monopoly and checkers, but also completely different. And you throw these 3 sticks in a circle, and it is just brilliant. And then you find out that the makers are the 2 guys who were the showrunners for The Office.
Okay.
And then a guy named Ruben Fleischer, who did Superstore, which I think is one of the best shows that was ever on television. That show is so genius. But he also did Zombieland.
Oh, okay.
And so one of the things that he brought to Superstore, which all takes place inside of like a Costco,
Mm-hmm.
is their little interstitials in between the scenes would involve like something weird that's happening in the store that has nothing connected to the story. So like a woman who's opening and smelling milks and then putting them away, or a raccoon driving a forklift, weird stuff like that. And so they incorporate those pieces in, and it just... Dan Harmon's girlfriend, Cody Heller.
His fiance.
Yeah. So she's one of the head writers on this.
Okay.
And it is it's nothing shy of perfection. And I've watched through the whole series twice now. It's on. Okay. This is the other thing too. So Sean comes over and we get to watch the last 2 episodes that 2 came out every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so we caught up completely, and then we got to watch these 2, me being fresh and him being fresh. The only downside is Freevee, if you've never heard of it, used to be IMDb TV,
Oh.
and then was bought out by Amazon. So even though I have Amazon Prime, you still have to watch this with commercial breaks no matter
Gotcha.
what. And they've done such a poor job selling it that you're really only watching the same 3 commercials over and over and over again. There's an awful Nissan one with Brie Larson where she's racing some other guy and then she gets caught up like in a bunch of lambs. And I'm like, I just don't like Brie Larson. Then there's another one about for an HIV drug that seems off. Like while you're watching it, you're like, why is everyone smiling so much in this? You shouldn't be smiling that much. And I can't remember what the third is because we just started blocking them out at one point. But that happened on IMDb TV too. I
Yeah.
remember watching Mad Men,
Yeah.
and they only had the rights to like a Puppy Chow ad. And so you'd
Mhm.
watch the same ad twice, 2 30-second ads to make a 60-second commercial break.
Right. Yeah. I would just thinking IMDb alone. Like, I wish it had more of the look of, say, a Wikipedia,
Yeah.
where it's just straight information versus this really. But I get it, right? I get why they are flooding their website with advertisements, because that's a lot of money. You are the internet movie database.
You're the
right?
ultimate argument solver.
Right, and you are, at one point it was a really high mark to be like, oh hey, I'm on IMDb now. Now everyone's on IMDb,
Yeah.
but
You're on IMDb. I'm on IMDb.
yeah. I still have an old photo with hair.
Oh, really?
I believe my IMDb photo is when I still have a full head of hair. I was probably 19, 20 years old when I took the photo,
Hmm.
and I had to pay
IMDb
to get the
Pro
photo.
Yeah.
just to get it uploaded. And so I would have to go back and pay now. And I'm like, at the moment, I don't care, but I have to at some point, because it does come off like I'm trying to pass as being that me, which according to my Facebook, is about 20 years ago.
There you go.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, the show
mine
sounds
is, I am JJ Gordon, like parentheses 1, because there was already a JJ Gordon from Germany. in
but you
there.
got the one. You got
Yeah.
JJ Gordon 1. Good for
Yeah.
you.
So I was the next on the list. So the show Jury Duty.
It sounds amazing.
So here's my problem. I'm a bad hype man, because sometimes I build things up too much and then people are like, yeah, that was garbage. And so this is one I don't feel I am hyping up enough, because it was so friggin' good. And there are maybe 5 jokes in the whole thing, and I kid you not that I had to stop because I was laughing so hard. Then I've been driving in my car and I think of the moment and I start to laugh. Like when I was watching this by myself, I laughed out loud. How often do you laugh out loud while you're by yourself?
I actually do a lot.
Well, see, I don't.
I really do a lot. But it just, but I've been living alone for so long that I'm just used to making conversation with myself as needed, just to have some conversation going on. But no, I also talk to the cats. And so it's easier for me to genuinely laugh out loud.
Yeah.
I have a donkey laugh. And so like I hear it a lot when I'm working on a play and I see something that makes me joyful. I'll do my donkey laugh and then I'll realize, hey, I need to quiet down. I'm in an enclosed space.
Yeah, I remember when we were rehearsing for Santaland Diaries, you gave me a lot of laughs that whether or not you were building up my self-confidence or they were legit, they were very needed.
They were legit. They were always legit. I if it gets up to a certain level, there's no way I can fake it. So like
That's good.
A fake laugh for me would be like, oh yeah, like it's like small talky fake. Oh hey, that's a great one. Whoever you are, I'm talking to at the grocery store. I hate buying cat food at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I hate it because invariably, oh, is this for you? Do you have cats? How many cats do you have? And I'm like, listen,
I hate the question.
I hate having to interact with the person. Not that I don't like talking to people. Actually, I don't fucking like talking to people. When I'm in the mode of like, I just need to get out of here. It's usually I'm off work. I'm tired. I just want to get this out of here. And I swear to you, they've been training the employees at the Northport Hornbachers lately, just like that viral video of like the guy cutting meat at the old like Golden Corral or whatever. And it's like, engage the customers with some witty banter. Hey, did you watch that sports game this weekend? Like they're all doing that kind of stuff now. It drives me fucking nuts. Like where's your self-esteem? Stop saying shit. Like just here's my money. Yeah, plastic would be great. Thank you so much. They're going to get polite from me always, but I don't want to fucking be like, yep, I got 2 cats. Yep. Oh, you do too? Yeah.
Here, let's work out a scenario, okay?
Yeah.
I'll be the checker and you be Tucker.
Okay. I can be me.
Okay. Be like, and here's your receipt, and there you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, that was the previous customer. So, sir, I'm not done interacting with Diane, who I just met. Her husband has cancer.
I'm sorry.
So we're just talking.
She's out of my view.
Thanks for shopping Hornbachers. Did you find everything?
I did.
Okay, great. Ooh, look at this. Crushed ice. Nice. Make yourself something cold later.
Mm-hmm.
What's this? Some canned cat food? You got cats?
I do.
How many?
I have 2 cats.
Hold on. There's a price check on this. God damn it. Price check. Could I get a price check to aisle 6? Spermicidal lubricant. Just a second.
Thank
They're
you.
gonna go look it up.
Thank you.
So, you got two kitties, huh?
I do.
What are their names?
Peter and Amelia.
Oh, so one's a boy and one's a girl.
Yeah.
And what kind of color are they?
God damn it. One's orange.
Are you in distress, sir?
Oh man.
Would you like a promotional can of Squirt? It's the great taste of grapefruit with carbonation.
You're not getting their tone right. You got to approach it more from you're not
Like
wearing
on
a flare,
Okay.
right?
It's Freebie Friday, sir. We're giving away some bacon.
Here's a better.
You want some bacon? Okay, let me. Since I'm not getting the character
You're about
right,
to fall out too.
since I'm not getting the character
I
right,
can do the character right for you.
I'll
I
be-
see. There's a bee on this cookie. Better not let it sting you.
okay,
Dude, the dude fucking locked eyes with me and waited for a response, and I did this. I just, and then he fucking shrank away.
This is. It's not holding
All right,
it.
I'm gonna
anymore.
help you
Hold
here
on.
for a second.
Yeah, it's not holding it anymore. I need to turn it upside down. This thing has lost its grip. The mic thing has lost its grip.
It has. We're gonna do something. Oh, I need to. Try
There you go. If it's like that,
something.
let gravity do the work.
Something like that for right now, and then
Okay.
we'll see how well that works for you. Buddy.
So let me try this again. Let me get into character. Now make sure you don't eat this cat food, okay?
Walk into traffic.
What?
Walk into traffic.
Oh, but I get hit by a bus. Do you take the bus? I do.
Can I get
What bus do you take?
Can I get plastic, please? Plastic's great. Thank you.
No, we listen. We got a 15-cent bag fee. Is that gonna be okay?
No English.
Do you have the Hornbachers app? Because for every can of cat food you buy,
Why does
for
every-
Peter and Amelia,
What is
then
every-
you can earn points. It's through the Ibotta app.
They at Casey's, they're like, are you sure you don't want the Casey's app? I'm
Do
like,
you want to round up we're doing bowling for tots?
for Todd's? Sure.
For Todd's. Yeah.
Bowling for
It's to
Todd's
help
sounds great.
Todd's. Okay. So your total's going to be $39 even.
Great. I'm going to put it on the old Visa here.
Okay, fantastic. So just wait until it says credit.
Mm-hmm. It's saying card cannot be read.
Okay, try the tap. Did you do the tap?
It's saying card cannot be read. Can you just slide it on the machine?
Okay, sure. Hold on one second. I got to get my manager, Denise. She's got to come over here. She's also my aunt.
Oh, my God.
Denise to check stand 5. Denise to check stand 5.
Also, we get a
This
price
is
on
a
my...
heavy credit card.
Do we get a price on my spermicidal lubricant, by the way?
Oh, you know what? I found out that if you buy 5 things of cat food, you get it for free. It's called the Lonely Man Special.
Oh, now that I'm looking at this, you're right. It is morsels of beef in a spermicidal lubricant gravy.
Yeah.
You're right. Amelia will love that.
Yeah. That's for cats only. Don't forget, it's not for cats only. Okay.
I did once try to engage with them on their level,
Oh,
and
really?
it fell through because the lady said, "Is this for you?" Or no, she said, "Do you have cats?" And I said, "No." And I thought that would get a laugh from her, and it didn't. She took it super serious, and then
Oh.
now I'm the guy who eats cat food,
Do you know why that's animal food is FDA approved?
so that people can
So
eat it.
because it's common that humans consume it.
Yeah, fuck that, man. I mean,
You know?
I get it. No, I get why it happens, but it's also not the cheapest thing. Like, listen, just go for tuna fish. You can actually get it for
Right.
cheaper.
But it used to be you could get a can of Alpo for 28 cents.
Right.
And then you've got all the essential nutrients to, keep you alive and give you a shiny coat.
Right.
So it's got beef byproduct, it's got gravy,
Mhm.
just a little salt.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of consuming stuff for dogs, recently a Minnesota State Highway patrolman who I happen to know posted that his son wants to earn some money before baseball season starts. And so if anyone's interested in having him come over and clean up dog poo out of his
Oh,
backyard,
okay.
you go for, and I immediately sent him a message and I'm like, I want to hire your son.
Nice. Good
So
for
it's
him.
a 12-year-old boy.
Good for him.
And his dad brought him and then his younger brother, who I think was 9 or 10. And they went into my backyard and they started picking up dog poo. Because you know what? It's the thing I hate the most. During winter, what I do is I snow blow these runs so the dogs can go everywhere. And then what I do is when that gets full of poop, I just make one adjacent to it and fill the other one in.
This explains a lot. So you were sitting in your house, looking into the backyard, watching these two children being watched by their police officer father
Yeah.
pick up poop, and you were like, you know what? Maybe prison labor is not such a bad idea after all.
I mean, I engaged with the warden. He and I were chatting. I was outside with them because I had to tell them where I wanted the poo to go. So at one point, I stepped away to tell my wife to go grab some cash from inside. And when I came back, he goes, "The boys noted that your dogs must eat a lot of chicken and rice, huh?" And I said, "Well, actually, I make my dogs homemade dog food because it is
Oh.
cheaper and more nutrient
No
rich."
shit.
Yeah. So I go to Costco and I get 20 pounds of ground turkey, frozen mixed vegetables, brown rice,
Wow.
and sweet potatoes.
And it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper. It's cheaper than wet dog food.
Good for
And
you.
so
Okay.
I make these 3 giant pans and then I put it into Ziplocs and
Okay.
I freeze half of it and then half of it's in the fridge.
Okay.
And it's really easy because I just open the container and they're the containers are the appropriate size. I mean, I got a poodle who weighs 4 pounds.
Right.
And I've got a medium-sized dog that's 51 pounds. So they
Yeah.
don't have the same portion.
Right.
And then what the dogs really like is when I'm feeling really good, I'll grab, if I just made soup or something and I use some chicken broth, I'll pull the chicken broth thing
Sure.
out and I'll warm it up and it becomes kind of this little slurry. They get into it.
We used to do when we had Scamper way back in the day. He ate dry food But then we started doing a thing where we would hold on to like bacon grease and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and then we would mix in some bacon grease with his dry food, but also put some like it was like Knox brand gelatin or something on it. That ended up being like really good for his arthritis or something. Like,
really?
it ended up being and some kind of a seed oil in there too, flaxseed oil.
Sure.
Basically, mix up the food with flaxseed oil, a little bit of bacon grease, and yes, some gelatin, which I guess was the intention was it was going to be good for his arthritis.
What was the name of the gelatin? Did you say Knox?
I want to say it was, but I'm trying to recall these details
This is crazy.
from back then.
I had never heard of Knox until this week. And not only do I have one person reference it, but then I also have you reference it.
Okay.
My radio partner, Amy Eiler, we write a recipe column in the FM Extra every week. And she goes, how about if we do Knox blocks? And I'm like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And she goes, like when you go to a buffet and they've got gelatin on the buffet, they're usually, like I think of like a Chinese buffet.
Yeah,
It's
Jello
like
squares or whatever.
Jello squares, right? Well, it's not just Jello because that would actually melt, and so you add this Knox powder, whatever this is,
Okay.
that allows it to be firmer but not become like a full solid. And so it's weird that you're twice in 1 week. I hear the word Knox, and I had never heard of it before.
I believe that was what it was. This was back in like 97, 98. This was a long time ago. So, but
During
yeah,
the flood year.
yeah. Hey, crested.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Uh-huh.
Because I was definitely not going to help anyone sandbag.
You know what's interesting is so I've had a lot of discussion about this. The people in Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo have such complete apathy towards the flood right now that I think they're thinking that we'll fill 200,000 sandbags in 2 days, and they were really hurting for volunteers to get out to the Cass Sandbag Central. But we, like the citizens of this area, have been like, listen, we've been through it.
Yeah.
We've provided tax dollars. We don't want to have to deal with this anymore. The same way that Grand Forks did it
Yeah.
in 98,
Yep.
and they don't want to have to worry about the flood anymore. So put the flood walls up. We paid for them. But the problem is that these smaller communities were the ones that really needed help and assistance in like rural Cass County. And when like in 97, they closed down. Remember when they closed down school and
yeah.
you could go help fill sandbags or go
Yep.
sandbag at a property. And it was a lot of the students who went out and were that extra labor that made it work. But yeah, there was a real apathy towards it, which I think is interesting. And I don't blame people at all. I'm quite frankly, I'm in the same boat.
Right.
If I didn't have in-laws that were along a river,
Right.
I wouldn't care about it either.
I mean, it's always situational, like what is the situation that got that person there? And there, I'm sure I know I do. I always game at that scenario of, oh, well, why'd you choose to buy a house in a floodplain? But at the end of the day, yeah, why the fuck did you choose to buy a house in the floodplain? At the end of the day, we have to just stop building private structures in places we know will flood. And that's kind of where I think my breaking point comes. It's one thing where it's like, hey, this is actually like a once in a lifetime natural disaster and we all need to pitch. I'm there. I'm totally there. But every time I've sandbagged a place, it was someone's house who was like, yeah, I just really like the riverfront and I'd like to hold on to this place. And then I go sandbag while they're sitting on their porch, drinking Mai Tais or whatever. And so I'm always up for helping out my neighbor. But there's a limit.
The one time I've been intimately involved with sandbagging a house was a friend of ours and a previous guest on JJ Meets World, and I felt for his family. It was the first time I'd ever seen like what a flood actually means to a family. Like they had to move everything out of their home because if one part of the dike broke, versus like their neighbors right next door who were the people who watched behind the window and they're like, no bathrooms, versus, like our buddy's place where his mom was feeding everybody and people were just happy to do it. And then he stayed in the house to make sure it was all right.
Mm-hmm.
Watching movies on like friggin' folding lawn chairs.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. But I will say this, we should be smarter now, right?
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you're not going to fool me again.
Right.
But at this point, come on.
The
right?
river's not going to go away.
Right.
Weather's not going to go away. We can expect worse floods at some point in the future. And so it's just one of those like, let's get it done now so that it's done.
You know what the flood? So you know who's really excited about flooding? Magnetic fishermen,
Oh, sure.
because it unearths all this stuff that didn't exist before.
and it probably
I
also
want-
brings stuff into
Yeah.
the water that wasn't there before.
And I want to try it really bad.
I kind of do too.
There are two guys that I interviewed called the Kinsler brothers who do magnetic fishing off like the Red, like the main Avenue Bridge into the Red, and then down by Jamestown. And they've found like 60 guns,
Oh, sure.
just like random old guns.
What are sort of the rules and regulations around magnet fishing in, say, like the river, or you know, even just fishing in the river? Like, I know you can, but I mean, is there some sort of like, you can only do it at designated spots. There's a certain way you can do it.
You can fish anywhere along the Red that's not private property.
Okay.
And a lot of the Red is public property.
Oh,
so
yeah.
think of
Yeah,
down
yeah,
by
yeah.
like the dike.
Yep.
Let's say.
or Trollwood, you know, that Mickelson,
Now-
you know, all these places have the river.
That being said,
Not
I have
Mickelson.
seen other places that have done a
Grove.
great job where they've kind of changed, like they've taken an area and they've put like they kind of have dug into the hill a little bit and they've made an area that's raised and they've poured a nice concrete pad and then they've put landscaping block behind it and stuff to essentially say, hey, here's a great spot to fish, because not everyone wants to get in waders and get in 2 feet into the river, and not everyone wants to stand on the muddy banks, but this is a great way to encourage people to use the waterways and that. And I just don't ever see us doing stuff like that, which is too bad.
Sure.
Like it seems like that'd be smart.
You know what I just decided right now?
Oh.
I'm going to buy a bicycle.
Yeah?
I don't own a bicycle. I
Oh.
haven't ridden a bicycle in years. And
Really?
as we're talking about the Red and all of the public space, it's in parks. And I was thinking, man, I used to bike to Mickelson and Oak Grove all the time, and to Trollwood, the park, not the performing arts school that is now in Moorhead, which is not in Trollwood Park.
You could bike there if you really want. That's a long one.
But I don't
you
want
could.
to. Who the fuck wants to bike there? Not I, said the fly. I've got spring fever right now. Like going outside and having fresh air and not wearing my jacket and keeping my windows rolled down. Like it has been such a mood adjuster for me in the past week. Like I always knew I was one of the millions who deal with seasonal depression, but it's really clear for me right now how much this winter was bumming me out.
Yeah.
Just being inside all the time and not getting fresh air and seeing nothing but white and gray outside all the time. The fact that we're going to see some green on the trees again, I'm amped for it. And I really want to, maybe this is what my midlife crisis is like, is to live a healthier lifestyle.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
than anything else. But I love going for walks and I love going on bike rides. I hate running. So I'm just going to be like, well, let's never do running because to hell with that. But going on walks is nice. And a bike would be really nice to go, you know what? I'm going to bike to Hornbacher's and get a brat. I'm going to bike to Trollwood. And I'm going to eat that brat and drink that Pepsi and just hang out for a bit.
You're going
That
to
sounds
take
nice.
your brat with you on that bike ride?
Yeah. I'm going to put it in a
Okay.
bag.
Okay.
Maybe I'll get a little basket on the front of
There
my
you go.
bike.
I like that more.
I like the idea of a basket on the front of my bike.
By the way, brat season is upon
Oh,
us.
I'm so ready. I'm so ready.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have if you're going to, do you make bratwurst yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do
Sometimes.
you have a preferred brand or style?
I don't have a preferred brand or style. I mean, it really just comes down to when I'm in the grocery aisle, what is singing to me in that moment. I kind of
Okay.
let it be like that. I will say, a couple of years ago, me and some buddies, actually probably the squad I'm going to go with to this reunion. We got together to have like a UFC pay-per-view night. And so we all like brought different like food or drinks or whatever. And Jason Bai went to the Brothers Meat place, the butcher shop. I feel like the name is like Two Brothers or something like that, butcher shop in town. I'm blanking on the name of it, but he bought
John and Wayne's.
John and Wayne's. Thank you. I don't know if they're brothers. I'm just assuming they are because they're John and Wayne. Or is that just a play on John Wayne?
I think it might be a play on John Wayne.
So I'm just gonna pretend that it's a brothers.
Two brothers.
Two brothers named
You want
John
them to
and
be
Wayne.
two brothers, one who's really business savvy and one who's really meat savvy.
Right.
And they combine. Their dad died, and their
Yeah.
dad's dying wish was for them to own a butcher shop and do something together.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing, and they're killing it. And
Mm-hmm.
they're in the meat industry in town.
They got in trouble for selling tiger meat.
No shit.
Yeah, you know what tiger meat is?
I thought tiger meat was raw beef.
It is.
So I buy raw beef at the grocery store.
Raw beef mixed with like some onions and some seasoning so that you can just
Oh.
eat it like
Got
that.
it.
And it was labeled tiger meat.
Got it.
And they're like, well, but we're not telling them to do that.
right, but it's beef, not chicken.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Beef is safer to eat raw than chicken.
Yeah.
And that's like 100% true. But
yeah.
anyways, Jason, they were selling like a mixed pack of different types of brats. Either like 30 brats, and there's gonna be like 5 of this type and 5 of that type, so you can all try. So we each tried different kinds. They had I think it was like a peanut butter jelly brat, something like that.
Those ones are really surprisingly good.
Fucking good. There was a jalapeno brat. I was like, this is my jam right here. So that's the thing I don't see at the brat stands, but I'm cool with that. At the brat stands, I want a straight up just classic brat.
Right.
I want it to be a little too hot outside, where it's like I got to get into some shade. I want a cold can of Pepsi straight from the ice in the cooler.
Probably got a little ice on the rim still,
Yes, and I want a bag of sour cream and onion potato chips. And I'm probably doing 2 brats. I always do. I never just do one. I usually do
A couple brats.
2 brats. I do ketchup and mustard, but nothing else.
Mhm.
I don't put any relish or anything like that.
No
on.
onions.
You know what? Actually, if onions were available, I'll do it. They're often not. They're often just not there.
Let me tell you about a brat you should seek out.
And raw onions I prefer, although I do like
Oh,
cooked
yeah.
onions.
If you go to Barnesville Grocery, they do all their own like meat processing there.
It's even the
And-
name of the town sounds like they'd be
Right.
great for me.
Like they'd be good for brats.
Barnesville.
And they make tons of different type of brats all throughout the year. Like you go to their case and there's like 20 selections, right?
Mhm.
But during potato days, they make this potato brat that has got some like ground up, like really like it's almost mashed potato, but it's not fully mashed potato.
Right.
And like chives and stuff like that. And like I think there's like some kind of like a sour cream sauce that they mix in with it.
So it has meat in it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I mean, it's primarily that like pork sausage
Got it.
that you'd find in a brat, but it's also got these little pockets of, oh my God, they are out of this world.
Sounds pretty good.
And it's not a brat that you want every single time. Like you said, you want traditional brat,
Mhm.
but every now and then you're like, damn, son.
Yeah, but yeah, I do like Wurst in downtown Fargo, but it's a different experience that you're going for because it's French bread, which I like their French bread that it's on.
Are you familiar with Vienna beef?
Yeah.
Okay. We finally have a place in Fargo that sells Vienna beef.
Who?
The Dog Pound, the DOGG Pound, is right next to, like where Wasabi is, and like where the Drunken Noodle was.
Oh.
Across from the OB parking lot,
Oh, got it. The
And-
old wasabi.
the old Wasabi.
Got
yeah.
it. Okay.
And OMG, like
Mm.
they're two people. It's a husband and wife, and they had a previous restaurant called the Tundra Grill. It didn't work out, so they decided, well, why don't we do hot dogs, right? And so they opened up the Dog Pound, and they did all this research on like, okay, this is a New York style dog, this is a Chicago style dog, blah blah. But she was telling me, she's like, yeah, we're with this company called Vienna Beef, and I'm like, Vienna Beef, the Chicago beef.
Mhm.
And she goes, yeah, and we're also going to do dipped Chicago style sandwiches. And I'm like,
Isn't
full
that,
dip.
wasn't it Vienna that Bertrosas used
It
when
was.
they were here?
And then we never had it.
I know, man. I miss Bertrosas.
Me too.
I really, really do.
Beer cheese soup was great.
They have a beer cheese soup at Worst. It's the same owners, but they had to sell that original recipe. But when it comes down to that kind of stuff, it's got to be not that hard to just change the recipe slightly and be,
Just a
like,
little smidge.
and be like, it's a new one now. This isn't the same one. But also, if you sell Bertrosas, they buy the recipe and then they just shut the restaurant down. What happens? I mean, they still own the recipe, but is that recipe just dying in a black hole now?
Probably.
That's sad.
I just was given the recipe to the Granary's beer cheese soup, and I intend on making it for myself at some point.
hmm When you do beer cheese, what are you primarily dipping in it?
Oh, you know what? I don't usually dip in a beer cheese soup.
Okay.
I put on top, and I like popcorn.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
That would definitely work for me. I would love Fritos
Sure.
on top of it. I think I would love to dip a brat in the bun in some beer cheese without putting any ketchup or mustard or anything else.
Right,
Just
yep.
raw dogging it into the beer cheese.
Sure.
That would be pretty damn good. I don't prefer brats that have cheese inside of them.
Agreed. Let me put it on the outside if I want it.
Yeah, because it also harms you. Like it's going to incinerate the inside of your mouth.
It will hit the back of your throat.
Yeah.
And then you go,
Right. And if you microwave it and just pours out the side, then you go, what happened to this thing? Am I going to eat this?
You know how I know, like, so Jill likes cheese hot dogs and cheese brats, and I know they're done on the grill when one of them explodes out of the side, and I'm like, there we go. It's like the turkey timer on like the side of a turkey pump. Tucker, this has been a great episode. If you want to write to JJ Meets World, if you're listening to this in a prison somewhere, or your name is Todd, you can get a hold of us just by emailing jjmeetsworld@gmail.com rather than sending a physical letter to my house.
That is if you have internet access in the prison.
I'm looking at this letter from the prison, and I think at first I thought maybe it was just like a smudge, but I think this might be blood. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information.
For the Easter egg, can you just do like a Chain Gang song?
Oh, I've been working my life for the man. I don't know what's going on. I don't have a plan, but I gotta work from sun up to sundown. I gotta wait 'cause I punched a clown.